And tonight on PM Express, the much-awaited appearance of the Finance Minister to tell the nation how government spent COVID-19 funds. It's been a topic that has caught the attention of the whole country. Now, the answers provided today by the Finance Minister did not satisfy both the Speaker and the minority who is asking for a probe by an ad hoc committee. Well, the Speaker has directed a parliamentary probe into the matter. Will this lay the matter to rest? Will this resolve the questions about the difference of monies that needs to be probed? We'll be looking into all of that. But let's get into the specifics of today's presentation by the Finance Minister. So he gave a picture of 2020 and 2021. He said the revenue was 19.3 billion Ghana cedis, and he ended up spending 8.12 billion. Now, that was in 2020. In 2021, he did not give a figure of revenue, but he stated that he utilized 3.9 billion. Then he comes to tell us how much he programmed for 2020 and 2021, and that sums up to 15.8 billion. Actual utilization, he said 12.04 billion. It gives you a difference of 3.76 billion. So this is where the breakdown lies. In 2020, the minister asked for 11.16 billion. Then he ended up using 8.12 billion. Now, in 2021, he asked for 4.6 billion. He ended up using 3.91 billion. That's not all. A breakdown of where the monies went to. So support to household, he talks about health infrastructure, economic relief, stabilization and revitalization, all summing up to 8.12 billion. Then he in 2021, so that was for 2020. In 2021, he talks about provision of free water and electricity for lifeline consumers. He talked about national COVID-19 response, seed fund for capitalization, agenda 111, cost of revitalization payments, procurement of COVID-19 vaccines, all summing up to 3.9 billion cedis. Now, this is a description of what the Finance Minister himself said when he presented the mid-year budget review. In 2020, he said he spent 8.12 billion. Now, in between January and September, that was when he presented the mid-year budget review, he said we had spent 2.65 billion. Today, he's talking about some 3.9 billion. And so that means that between November and December, we had spent 1.25 billion, making it the 3.9 billion and totaling 12.04 billion he's talking about. Let's look at the source of funding. That has also generated some controversy today after the Finance Minister presented the budget. It talks, you see IMF, World Bank, European Union and all the others giving us a fund of 19.30 billion, and that is actually captured in page 99 of the mid-year budget review of 2021. If you look at the 2021 mid-year budget review, page 99 again, it presented source of funding of Government of Ghana, World Bank, Korea, Germany, also summing up to 6.29 billion. So that means that if you open that budget, page 99, you will see both captured there. Today, the Finance Minister did not present this particular one. This is what he presented in his presentation. So the question has been, where is the 6.29 billion? Where has that gone to? If you add the 6.29 billion plus the over 19 billion, that gives you 25.68 billion. That is also captured in page 99 of the mid-year budget review. This is going to be the thrust of our conversation. And then he talks about funding from outside. Only outside funding gives you 9.97 billion. That's also something that the minority is questioning. So tonight, we're asking the question, where is the money? The Speaker has put together, has directed the Finance Committee and the Health Committee to present a comprehensive report that will set this matter to rest. Will that really deal with the problem? But where is the money, the difference we're talking about? Plus, you would hear that there's been controversies about what the president said in his State of the Nation address, plus the explanation that the finance minister gave today in Parliament. We'll be probing all of that when my guests get seated. I'll be joined tonight by John Kuma. He's the Deputy Minister of Finance. I'll also be joined by Dr. Kesiel Atoforsin, who is the ranking member for the Finance Committee of Parliament, and Vitus Azim, his anti-corruption campaigner. They'll all join me after this break for a conversation. Stay with me. Welcome back to PM Express, and tonight we're probing the spending of COVID-19 funds. Let me start with you, Atoforsin. He's the ranking member for the Finance Committee in Parliament. John Kuma is the Deputy Finance Minister. I'm grateful that all of you have come here. But initially it was the Finance Minister not appearing before Parliament. Finally he appears. Finally. And then gives an account of what the COVID-19 spending has been. Why are you finding it difficult to believe that it's a true reflection of what really happened?
Three concerns that I've raised. First, to start with.
Can I have your pen?
To start with, you agree with me that His Excellency, the President, has asked his minister responsible for justice to lay before Parliament what you call the Coronavirus Trust Fund, COVID-19 Trust Fund.
Yep.
In fact, the actual name is Novel Coronavirus into bracket COVID-19 National Trust Fund. Okay. So it was a bill that was laid before Parliament. The intention out there was to collect money from the private sector to augment what the government is mobilizing. Okay. But the structure and design of the Act 1013, it makes it a public fund. And clearly that is supported by a constitution provision in Article 175 of the 1992 Constitution. And this is clear. It explains what exactly a public fund is. And if I may give you the details of what a public fund is in Article 175 of the Constitution.
78 or 75?
Yeah, 175.
175, yes.
And it states that, and you see the side talks about Public Fund of Ghana. Okay. So it said the Public Fund of Ghana shall be the consolidated fund, one. The contingency fund, two. And any such other public fund as may be established by or under the authority of an Act of Parliament. Okay. So this COVID-19 Trust Fund was established under the authority of an Act of Parliament. And clearly, the amount that is accumulated in that account becomes a public fund. And so therefore, if you are accounting for what you have received in terms of to manage COVID-19, there's the need for you to account for the money. That money is not private money. But strangely, and I was surprised to see that it could not find space in the minister's brief to Parliament. So first point, and I believe that it's something that the people of Ghana must at least be aware of how much was mobilized in our name. It wasn't mobilized in the name of the president as a person. Okay. It was mobilized in the name of a president as a custodian of the land. And so there's the need for the minister responsible for finance, who has the authority to represent the president on economic matters or on financial matters, to appear before Parliament and to account for that matter. So I think it is wrong for the minister not to account for it and decided to exclude. I saw he exclude. If you exclude it, you have not accounted for it. Yeah. And decided to exclude it from what he terms it accounting to Parliament. Okay. So that's my first point. My second point emanates from the fact that if you look at the page 4, table 1 of the minister's statement, he had said to all of us that he managed to mobilize 19.3 billion Ghana cedis to deal with COVID-19. Yeah. Total amount he mobilized. Okay. Or total amount that came our way, Ghana's way, to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. He said he took 1.2 billion Ghana cedis from the Ghana's contingency fund, Government of Ghana contingency fund. And let me say this one, I sat in the committee as a member of the Finance Committee in the previous Parliament. The Finance Committee gave them the authority to spend that money. So 1.2 billion, we granted 1.2 billion. With the hope that they will come back and account to us what they have used the money for. You can check the Hansard and the finance. I was the ranking member at the last Parliament with my chairman, Isideyabo, and that's what we did. 1.2 billion. He also said that the World Bank gave us 1.334 billion Ghana cedis. 1.334 billion Ghana cedis. That is what the World Bank gave to us. And they've given us the breakdown of what came from the World Bank. Again, the IMF that they are running away from gave us 5.8 billion Ghana cedis. IMF. The very IMF that they don't want to hear their name now. They gave us 5.8 billion Ghana cedis to support COVID-19. Aside that, the Africa Development Bank gave us 405.6 million Ghana cedis. Then the European Union gave us 504 million Ghana cedis. And then finally, they went to the Bank of Ghana, our central bank, and raised what we call COVID-19 bonds to 10 billion Ghana cedis, making 19.3 billion, according to the Minister of Finance. 19.3 billion.
Yeah.
Our concern is that this 19.3 billion, we have concerns. It is early days yet, but we believe that this amount is more than, because we can give you an example. A typical example is that in November 2020, Parliament approved what we called a loan from IFAD, International Fund for Agricultural Development, an amount of $20 million. Very concessional loan, in fact, more or less cheap money, to the Republic of Ghana for the financing of COVID-19, particularly for farmers, to deal with the farmers' issue. It is not included here. We are going to do further work. I'm sure they have spent so much days and whatever days, hours that they've been to collect this. We also need time to go through. And I can assure you that in the coming days, today, tomorrow, I will go into the Hansard one by one, day by day, to compile and ensure that this is exactly what we gave to them. 19.3. But granted, and that's what I said, granted, that 19.3 billion is what they collected. The minister, same minister, in his statement, again in page 6, page 6 is here. He has provided us a table. And the table tells you 2020 budget, what they budgeted for, what was released, 2021 budget, what was budgeted for, and what was released. He said 2020, they spent 8.1 billion. And he said 2021, they spent 3.9 billion. If you add the two, you have the total. It says they've spent 12 billion and 36 million. 12 billion and 36 million. I'm not the one saying. He's the minister, and this is his own statement. So my argument is, you took 10 billion US dollars, Ghana cedis from Bank of Ghana. IMF gave you 5.8 billion. You took contingency fund 1.2 billion. Again, World Bank gave you 1.3 billion. EU gave you money. Africa Development Bank gave you money. And others. Account to us what you've used the money for. You are telling us, you've given us a headline items amounting to 12 billion. Where is the difference? Where is the money?
And I'm sure you haven't read.
Let me tell you, I've read everything. And then meanwhile, you know what they are telling us? They are telling us that they use the money to shore them.
But I thought you said you didn't know where the money is.
So the first question, for me to land before you bring him here. What is the meaning of use the money to shore the budget?
I'm sure
we've given you money to spend. You are saying you use the money to which part of the budget? No corner analysis.
All right, so he will explain that to us. But Mr. Kumar, first of all, you need to tell us how much was mobilized in our name.
Yes. Oh, in your name, everything that was mobilized has been put out there. Let me put on record that the accounting for COVID-19 expenditures has been done in all the budgets from 2020 to 2021 to 2022. In fact, these figures we are putting out, this diagram is in page 274 of the 2021 budget. So it's nothing new. It's not like we are coming out with new accounting figures.
Yeah.
The finance minister has been consistent. And in fact, let me commend my brother, Dr. Atofosin, today for commending the finance minister for his consistency in the figures that he provided to Parliament today. So there is nothing new. The three concerns that he has, in fact, they are baseless concerns.
Okay.
First of all, the issue about the trust fund, when he says that we didn't account. I don't know his understanding of accounting.
Okay.
Okay. But when you read paragraph 15, I think you can check. As part of the facts and statement to Parliament, Mr. Speaker, it must be noted that the status of utilization of the funds to finance COVID-19 measures excludes funds.
So that's accounting.
Of course. Of course.
Okay.
Excludes funds of the National COVID-19 Trust Fund and the Ghana Private Sector COVID-19 Fund. Now he runs to Article 175 and describes what a public fund is. There's nothing inconsistent about what the minister said here and what the Constitution is providing, especially when it's to do with consolidated fund. Now the minister is saying, I'm accounting for funds that have come through the consolidated fund.
Okay. So are you saying that this trust fund is not supposed to be accounted for?
No, to be accounted. That's why he explains that this and the private funds that came through other channels are not part of what I am doing. That's accounting. Okay. You inform the public that the calculations you have done here is it does not include.
So you are supposed to account for that.
Yes, but there's a trustee, a board of trustee who manage that in different accounts. The funds don't go through the consolidated fund for the finance minister to allocate or disburse.
Okay.
There is board of trustees.
But per Article 175 he read to you.
Yes.
Is that not contradicting what
yes, so
you're saying?
it's not contradicting it. If you have set up a fund that has board of trustees and they have a different method of receipts of revenues and expenditures, that accounting can be done through that board.
Okay.
It doesn't have to go through the finance minister. Okay. So he says that in this accounting of funds that I'm doing, I've excluded them. That's complete disclosure. Wow. Okay. So I don't see the difficulty in it. And he has shown where everybody knows that there are board of trustees with leaders who can account for the National COVID-19 Trust Fund and the private sector COVID-19 fund. That's a full absolute disclosure. So I disagree with him.
So you're saying that should go to 178?
No, I'm saying that
that part should be related to 178, because if it is 175, then the minister must account for it. Yes,
and I'm saying that so under the trustees can come and do that account. And today the speaker directed two committees, finance and health, to go into this and give us the update.
Yes.
So there's nothing,
because the speaker himself was not clear about that. And
I'm saying I disagree with them for their lack of clarity.
So are you saying that portion should be related to 178 or 175? 178.
178 is very clear.
Yeah.
It tells you how to draw money from the consolidated from public funds. From public funds. And it's here. You see the side note. Withdrawals from public funds, etc.
Okay.
But you see, from what you are saying...
let me finish. When I finish, then you come in. You see,
it's a big
it is just this whole concept of accountability is what we are talking about. Transparency, accountability, and openness. When you disclose, full disclosure, once you give full disclosure that the accounting you are doing excludes this, it means you have informed us that this is what you're going to do.
But do you have the right to do so?
Yes,
because you're supposed to account to the public.
No, you have the right to do so. So minister is accounting for funds received through the consolidated fund and has excluded the private and the trustee funds. Which, of course, if Parliament wants that information, we can easily call them to come and do so. Okay. So there is nothing
the minister
irregular.
didn't.
No, he's allowed to do that. Okay.
Really?
Yes.
On what basis?
That's exactly what he has done. Law allows him to do that. When you are asked to come and give us, it's not pick and choose. You are asked to come and account for funds that you have handled.
Okay.
He says that these are not funds I've handled. Even though in law, is supposed to be held in trust for the Republic. He says that I have not handled those funds.
But if it falls
So
under, that's where I'm drawing
that.
your attention to. If it falls under Article 175, then it qualifies as public funds and you must account for it.
He hasn't said he will not account for it, but he says that in this accounting he's doing, it's not part of it.
But why should it be, separated?
Because he has not handled it. Okay? It hasn't come through the channel of consolidated fund. So it hasn't gone through his appropriation. So he's not accounting for it.
But the minister did not even explain this. He just went ahead to present his expenditure.
You see,
he did not actually explain why he excluded that part.
Yes, then I'm giving the explanation to you. And I'm saying that these are private funds. These are trustee funds, which doesn't come through the consolidated funds. And he fully disclosed that he's not going to talk about those ones. Okay, for me, it's enough. Once he has fully disclosed that it is not part of the accounting he's doing, there's nothing wrong. And we have people who handle these funds. If Parliament wants them to come and account, there's procedure for that, and my brother knows that. So there's no basis for that.
So does it mean that the Finance Ministry has not received any money from the COVID Trust Fund?
That's exactly the point.
That's what you're saying.
Exactly the point.
Okay, so
Finance Ministry has not received any funds from the private COVID-19 funds.
Go ahead.
To account for at this point. So we can allow the managers and trustees to come in and account for how much they have received and how they have expended it. So that is on that. The issue of about revenues that were mobilized. We announced in the same 2021 budget that because of the COVID year, we had a revenue gap of 11.5 billion and expenditure, unbudgeted expenditure increment of about 13.6, which added up to about 23.3 or 5 billion as a deficit for just one fiscal year. And so we needed to fall on partners and loans to be able to raise that. That is why you have this diagram 1, that out of the 25 billion deficit, this is how much we were able to raise from the COVID-19 expenditure support that we needed to fill the gap of 25 billion. But we were able to raise 19.3 billion through loans, our own contingency fund, the World Bank, the IMF. Now, when you come to paragraph 6, this issue of there's inconsistency in reporting. When you check paragraph 6, it says that during the presentation of the 2020 mid-year fiscal policy, I indicated the supplementary request included a program funding of 19.3 from various funding sources to support the budget both directly and indirectly. So when you put the direct and indirect together, you are going to get the 19.3 that were mobilized. Now the direct, on the expenditure side, an amount of 11.16 was programmed for COVID-19 related expenditures. But in actual, we programmed that's allocation. But we actually spent 8.1 billion. This is in 2020. Okay. And then the following year, which is 2021, we programmed an amount of 4.6 billion and actually spent 3.9 billion. So when you add the 3.9 to the 8.14, you get the 12 billion COVID-19 expenditure.
But in the mid-year budget review, the finance minister presented two separate figures from funding we got from our sources. And one, he talked about IMF, World Bank, European Union, African Development Bank, Bank of Ghana, GOG, giving us 19.30 billion. Then he also talked about Government of Ghana, World Bank, Korea, and Germany, giving us a total of 6.29 billion.
Breaking down the net.
If you add that, you get over 25. But today he did not even present the second one. He presented only one.
Because you are repeating yourself.
Why? Where is the repetition? Where's the repetition?
If you
let me
listen to you again.
Okay. So you have both. So if it was a repetition, these two they were captured. Exactly. They were captured in the mid-year budget review. Both. But today the minister did not talk about the second one. He presented only one. It's captured at page 99
Okay.
of the mid-year budget review that he presented.
Okay.
So it gives us 19.30 billion, and then comes here to give us 6.29 billion from funding we got from...
Just accounting for the 25 deficit, 25 billion.
Exactly.
Deficit.
So why was this excluded today?
I get it. I get the point you're making. So when you look at the 2021 budget, we had a deficit, a gap of 25 billion to fill.
Okay.
And we did that through this financial mobilization we did through loans and other things to fill that gap. So the 19.3 was the direct COVID-19 expenditures. Okay. And the expenditures, we may not have added the other 6 billion because maybe they didn't go into COVID-19 expenditures. But today's information was to account for what was spent directly and indirectly to COVID-19 expenditures. So if maybe we didn't add the 6 billion, it may not have been part of the direct expenditures.
That is why I have a problem.
So maybe I can check on that one.
Okay.
But the important thing is that if you check, there is no inconsistency in terms of this 12 billion and 19 billion that we are talking about. The 12 billion for the 2 years is the actual expenditure we made in 2020, which was 8 billion, and 3.9 billion in 2021. That gives you 12 billion. Now, Honorable Atufosi will say, where's the difference between the 12 billion and the 19 billion that you mobilized? There's a gap of 8 billion.
Where's the difference?
The difference is also explained in paragraph 6.
Your colleague Abna Osei said that you used it to shore up the budget. What does that actually mean?
Okay, so the difference of 8.1 billion was programmed to provide shortfalls in revenue.
Okay.
I have told you that the budget we did in 2020 didn't expect COVID-19 to strike. And when lockdown came, all the revenues GRA was supposed to mobilize and stuff like that failed. So government needed to raise funds to be able to pay salary for workers across the country, compensation, statutory funds, and all kinds of things. Even today, the minority was complaining why we spent 1.5 billion supporting statutory payments. Okay, but these were things necessary at the time to do to sustain the economy. Okay. So they know where the money is because we have explained it in the budget.
Do you know where the money is?
Look,
he knows where it is. He's just
Aisha,
refusing to find it. That's all.
My friend and my colleague Maakunta has said nothing.
Of course, if I say something, then you have to leave the show.
Said nothing. First of all, first point, let me put on record that from what I've heard from my colleague, clearly, the trust fund, the COVID-19 National Trust Fund, has been engaging in an illegality.
Why?
Why?
Things that are unconstitutional.
Okay.
Because the Constitution makes it clear how to spend money that belongs to the public.
Yeah.
But have you seen the Trust Act?
The Act is before me.
Where is it?
This is the Act.
Yeah.
I can show you. I've read the Act in detail before coming here.
Well, let me see it.
Okay, this is the Act. And read the Act.
Carry on.
Okay.
And at 10:13, the novel COVID-19 Trust Fund Act 2020 at 10:13. It's clear as to how they should account for the money.
Okay.
And the Constitution makes it very clear how to take public money from public office. But from what I've heard from him, to the extent that they spend money that the Minister of Finance is not even aware of, makes it very, I'm very uncomfortable.
It's not true because having read the Act, there's
So
governance. There is governance of how you run the fund.
okay,
So
so-
nothing to do with the finance minister. Yes.
So the governance
Check
doesn't
section. Check here, section 5.
So let's look at the session.
Records. You keep records.
Check,
for
it's
the
here.
Auditor General, there's
The
internal
Act will
auditors.
tell you how to govern the funds. It's
Okay,
got
let-
nothing to
let
do with
me-
the finance minister.
Let me tell you
Check.
something. It may have immediately. What
Check.
I have here in the Constitution is clear. And let me take my time to take you to the Constitution. The Constitution talks about withdrawal from public funds, etc. It said that no money shall be withdrawn from the consolidated fund except.
But it's not in the consolidated fund.
But you see, I'm reading something. You won't even allow me to read.
Okay, you allow
You
me
won't even
to
allow me to
explain,
read.
then
Because of
See
this
how-
application.
See how jittery they are.
Oh, no. What is
number
it
two,
about it? You are misapplying it.
expenditure that is charged on that fund by the Constitution or by an Act of Parliament. Or B, where the issue of these monies has been authorized by an Appropriation Act or by a supplementary estimate approved by resolution of Parliament passed for the purpose or by an Act of Parliament enacted under Article 179 of this Constitution.
That's it. So this is the
by
act
rules
that will
of
show you.
regulations made under an Act of Parliament in respect of trust.
Yes.
Money is paid into the consolidated fund.
Now stop
so
there.
You see, all the trust money must be paid into an account that will be classified as a consolidated fund.
No.
All of this must
the Act will tell you how to govern the fund.
Can I just finish?
Okay.
Can I finish?
And what does the Act say?
So
Check
the Act
Section
gives
5.
you an idea.
It's got nothing to do. It's the
where
Board
to
of
make
Governors and the trustees
Won't you allow
who
me to
manage it. Oh,
Okay. So this is Section 5.
So Aisha, that's my first point. He has raised issues that for me has made me very uncomfortable. And it will mean that we have to probe this matter even further.
Okay.
But I'm very concerned over things that he has said. I am not the one who said I have mobilized 19 billion.
Yeah.
So if you say you have mobilized
Are you
19 billion, you have to account for it as such.
which you have done.
Aisha, honestly speaking, let us not make this a complicated business. It is like your income and expenditure as a person. You receive X amount of money from Joy FM, from the job you do, and you spend X amount of money on whatever you spend your money on. If there's a time for accountability, you will have to look at your income and then match it to expenditure.
Yeah.
And tell us that in any case, if there's any savings, where the money is. This Minister of Finance has failed to account for it woefully. And Aisha, it will surprise you to know, I have the media review of 2021 budget before me. In the year 2021, the Minister of Finance said they have mobilized 19.3 billion and 6.2 billion.
Yeah.
If you add these two together, it's 25 billion.
Yeah, that's the gap.
What is gap?
The
What's
deficit
the
gap.
gap?
You have
What
the
is
same
deficit
budget
gap?
tells you the gap.
Please. Probably you don't understand what I'm trying to say. Let me
let's
take
see.
you over it again. I'm not the one saying this. Your minister, and it's your own document. Let me take you.
But we gave it to you.
Yes, you gave it to us. And the
When we are
document
telling
you
you
gave
the
it to
gap,
us, you
what's the
don't seem
problem?
to appreciate the numbers of what you gave to us. What you gave to us, what you tell us is that you have mobilized two sets of money. One is 19.3 billion. Another one is 6.2 billion.
Yeah.
The two put together is 25 billion cedis. Come and account to us. Okay, why are you excluding Germany loan from Germany?
Yeah.
Why are you excluding it in what you accounted?
In the
Why are you excluding Korean money, 30 million? Why are you excluding it? Why are you excluding all this money, grant from Korea government? Why are you excluding it? You excluded it conspicuously in this document. So please, Aisha, let me take my time and take you through.
I mean, it's exactly
You see, what I have here.
Yeah.
Number one, Korea government gave us a grant. A grant.
Yeah.
Of 65 million.
Okay.
65 million grant is missing in the document that the minister gave to us. Again, Korea gave us 30 million medical equipment provision project in response to COVID-19. It is missing from here. Korea again gave us another 30 million COVID-19 emergency response program. It is missing from here. Germany also gave us 40 million euros reform financing budget support. 280 million is here. It's not here. So all this money, according to your own budget statement, is missing in what the minister accounted for. And you don't want us to talk about it.
So
why are you?
why? I mean, that's what I was trying to say. Why is this excluded from what was presented today?
Okay. Aisha, I've told you that what we did today was nothing new except to rehash the same accounting we have done when we spent the money. And I've told you that in the 2021 budget, this is the 2020 or 2021?
2021.
The 2021 budget.
Yeah.
We had a huge deficit which we needed to address. And because there was a shortfall of 11.6 revenue, 13.7 extra expenditure gap, up to 25 billion.
Okay.
So I even introduced the 25 billion before you came in with the extra 6 billion. So yes, we needed to fill that 26 billion gap.
Okay.
The explanation that was provided today was to account for the 19.3 billion that went directly into COVID-19 expenditures. And that is what was done. It's not all the funding that was applied to COVID-19 expenditures. And I've told you that because we had revenue gap, we needed these monies to show up the budget. And when you talk about budget, it's not only COVID-19 expenditure. You needed to pay compensation of workers because Ghana was one of the few countries that kept public sector workers throughout the year, even though they were locked down and people were not going to work and all that. So yes, we understand that we raised we raised revenues to fill the 25 billion gap. I've told you about that. But I'm saying that it's not all the 25 billion that went into COVID-19 expenditures.
Atu raised a question about he said you gave headline explanations. One of the explanations he gave was that, for instance, you indicated that you had used an amount of 598 million on face masks and sanitizers. At what cost for each of the products that you talked about? I mean, this is a legitimate question.
Yes, but there's nothing wrong with that. Once these expenditure allocations are made, the specific institutions that did the actual expenditures, the Auditor General will now go into it. When you ask the finance minister to come and account, this is how he will do the accounting in law.
So the breakdown will be given to the
now the Auditor General will now have to go into the specifics of its applications. Okay. So if he wants to wait for the Auditor General to come and query about who got what contract, how it was expended, he and I cannot do that in Parliament.
I can do that.
Why? You are now an auditor. You are adding auditors to your...
I'm an accountant.
So, no, but let's follow the rules. Even if you can do it, you are not permitted to do it.
I'm permitted to do it.
No, you are not permitted.
The Constitution has clothed me with authority to do that.
Where is that?
I will take you to Article 103 of the Constitution.
Article 103.
Article 103 of the Constitution is clear. And I will take you to Article 103.3. Article 103.3 says that committees of Parliament shall be charged with such functions, including the investigations.
Now you the Committee of Parliament.
Let him land.
It's application of the readings.
You won't let me read.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You said you are clothed. You said you are clothed. So are you?
Okay, Mr. Kumar.
As part of committees. We work through committees.
So it's not you, it's committees of Parliament. Then make it clear. I thought you said you are clothed.
Okay. So let Atu make your point.
Are you a committee of Parliament?
Atu make your point. Let Atu make his point, then I'll come to you.
The power of the purse is with Parliament and not the audience.
Yes, but you are not Parliament.
I'm a member of Parliament.
And the Constitution you are reading says Committee of Parliament, not a member of Parliament. His problem is the interpretation.
He will allow me to.
He is always
But he's a member of the committee.
When they are worried, they don't want to.
So, but he said he didn't say the committee.
Okay, so hold on. So hold on. Let him make the point, then you can respond to it.
Let me tell you something.
Okay.
One thing about my colleagues, the MPPs, anytime they are worried, they won't allow you to speak.
Okay, you go ahead.
No.
Now you have the floor.
You just read that you are clothed.
I'm waiting for him.
You say you are clothed with power.
Let me tell you something.
And then show us that power. You say committees of Parliament. You are not committee of Parliament.
Go ahead.
The power of the purse is with members of Parliament.
Okay.
It's with Parliament when we sit.
Okay.
And are you Parliament?
It is only Parliament that has the power of the purse and not the Auditor General.
Okay.
Members of Parliament work through committees of Parliament. We work through committees of Parliament, and that is why anything that comes to Parliament, Parliament refers it to the appropriate committees. Okay. And that's how we work. And the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana is clear in Article 103 of the Constitution. And 103.3 says the committees of Parliament shall be charged with such functions, including the investigation and inquiry into the activities and administration of ministries and departments as Parliament may determine. And such investigations and inquiries may extend to proposals for legislations. So it is clear.
What is clear here?
It is clear.
Can I come in?
Nothing stops me.
Okay, so the contention has been that there's a gap.
Yes.
And the finance minister did not address that. You have the opportunity. Why don't you just clear the air?
Exactly. But first of all, let me clarify that my honorable friend Dr. Atoforsen is not Committee of Parliament. He's not Parliament. So he cannot sit here and say he's flowed with... I'm also a member of Parliament, but I don't have that power. No, please, you don't. You cannot appropriate
Go ahead.
Now, the issue of the gap. I'm saying that today, we did not come out with any new thing. Everything we came out in Parliament, our figures we have already provided to the nation.
And he pointed out to you that you left out some of the figures you presented earlier.
Because of what the scope of what we were supposed to account today. It's not all the support in the deficit gap that went into COVID-19 expenditures.
Okay.
We have explained that some of the funding went into budgetary support. Okay. And I told you the deficit in the revenue and the extra expenditures that we needed to meet in 2021 was 25 billion, which was part of this budget. This same budget is quoted. Okay. And it is in the explanation of how we mobilized the 25 billion that you see 19 billion plus 6 billion. But when the finance minister was to account for the COVID-19 expenditures, he restricted to how much of that budget went into direct and indirect expenditures of COVID-19. So there is no inconsistency about what he has done.
Let me bring in Mr. Vitus Azim. He's an anti-corruption campaigner. Mr. Azim, I'm grateful that you've joined this conversation. Right, I'm told he's not on. We'll get him to join this conversation. But you're calling for a bipartisan or ad hoc committee. Yes. In fact, the speaker agreed that there was the need for further probe, so he referred to the committee. But why an ad hoc committee? Why not the Auditor General, like your colleagues are suggesting?
The Auditor General's function is carved in statutes, and in the Constitution for the Auditor General. It does not replace the work of Parliament. And let no one create an impression that Auditor General's work can substitute or replace the work members of Parliament does. It is wrong.
Okay.
But first, let me say this. The devil is in the detail.
Definitely.
The devil is in the detail. The minister appeared before us and gave us headline numbers. Headline numbers. For example, he said he used 600 million Ghana cedis for the purposes of constructing Agenda 111. I know, and he said this in the year 2020. That's how much they used the money. They used 600 million in the year 2020.
Okay.
So my question is, I know that Agenda 111 started 2021. The president actually cut the sword somewhere in Asante region in August 2021, before work commenced. At what point did we pay the 600 million? Okay. Is it mobilization or what? I think this is a legitimate question. Again, in the statement, the minister had said to us that out of the COVID money he received, he took 1.5 billion Ghana cedis to pay for statutory funds. I know the statutory funds are actually taxes that we have to collect. In fact, they are a percentage of taxes. District Assembly Common Fund is a percentage of tax. Get Fund has a levy. DACF has a levy. In fact, the other one, what do you call it? National Health Insurance. All of them are levies that Ghanaians actually contribute.
Okay.
So what happened to the money that you collected? You said there's a shortfall in taxes. But you see, when there's a shortfall in taxes, the statutory funds don't get what is the shortfall. They get what is actually collected because it's a percentage of whatever. Yes, so you collect and give it to them. But
sustain it.
So sustain what? It's their money. So just take their money and give it to them. You don't go and borrow and COVID money and you go and give it. The money you don't have. What money you don't have?
The COVID year didn't have the revenues.
Whatever revenue came, if it's one city that came, a
but you
percentage
couldn't
goes
watch
to them.
the institutions to fail.
What institution?
So you borrowed
yes,
some money
support from the COVID fund.
So you took COVID money and gave it to them.
So
you said you took 600 million Ghana cedis and use it.
But this issue, you have raised this severally and we have answered
and
this is
small companies.
No,
small companies.
So his issue is with the Agenda 111. At what point did you...
No, I've moved away from Agenda 111. I'm talking of the 600 million they are using for the purposes of small and medium enterprises.
You want to answer that?
We'll talk about that. The cabas.
So you want to explain that?
I will talk about that.
Okay.
I will talk about that.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, the 600 million cedis on Agenda 111. He has raised this issue severally when we said 100. In fact, initially they said we have misused $100 million. We did the calculation, the exchange rate was the same 600 million cedis we are talking about, which was the advanced mobilization that was given to GIF the Ghana Infrastructure and Investment Fund. Go and check. They have been giving this fund to leverage it to raise extra financing for the Agenda 111. This money has been released to them.
So the money is check.
Of course, you are aware. We have said this several times. This is not the first time you are raising this.
Aisha, you've heard it here.
Yes, but today is not the first time. I'm saying that every discussion we are having today is not new. We debated this budget when it came out, and you raised the same issue.
So on the point of...
The second issue about 1.5 billion to statutory funds.
Okay.
Aisha, the statutory funds take percentages of revenues that come. But in a COVID year where there's a lockdown and there are no revenues, do you watch these statutory funds to collapse? So when you are getting budget financing support, you also allocate some to them to be able to survive. And that is what was done. And we have disclosed this fully in the budget, and we have announced this severally in every engagement with the public. So there is nothing to hide. I want to tell my brother and everybody who is concerned about COVID expenditures, the government of Ghana has nothing to hide. The Ministry of Finance has disclosed every expenditure and mobilization that we did, and will continue to explain. Of course, where they don't understand, we will explain to them. But let them not create any impressions that we are hiding or running away or refusing to make.
But why are you uncomfortable with a probe and ad hoc committee?
No,
I mean, the issue with Auditor General, you know what has happened with Daniel Domelevo when people said that government wanted to cover up rocks. That's why he was removed. Why are you calling for Auditor General on this matter?
Who himself was audited and he couldn't account for 7 million of cars he bought. But let me tell you, Parliament works through committees, like he said, and I told him he is not a committee, but it doesn't mean he doesn't belong to a committee. We all belong to committees. So we supported the Speaker's stance today that if there are extra questions or investigations we all need to do, let the standing committees of Parliament probe into them. And rightfully so, the Speaker referred the outstanding questions to the Finance Committee, of which is a ranking member, and the Health Committees to further probe into some of these questions so that we can have answers. But for him to go under Article 103 to say that we must set up a new ad hoc committee, to do what? There's already a standing committee in Parliament that is responsible to address any of these challenges that come up. Why are you looking for an ad hoc committee?
Okay, so finally the Speaker has agreed that two committees should work on it. Is this something that you think would put this matter to rest, or you want a public hearing?
Amazingly so. In fact, what I asked the Speaker to order us or instruct, to commission, is not very different from what the Speaker eventually
did. Okay.
My argument was simple. The minister responsible for finance made an attempt to account headline numbers, what they use the money for. What we do in Parliament is that before we approve your budget for the ensuing year, we take expenditure returns of the previous year. The way COVID-19 money was done and the way it was managed carefully, Parliament of Ghana had not had the opportunity to get proper expenditure returns on some of these expenditures that they claim they have done. I believe that it's imperative on us as members of Parliament to immediately have a committee to collate this data. And as I said, the devil is in the detail, so that we can put this matter to rest once and for all. I'm happy that the Speaker has directed that the Committee of Finance and the Committee of Health should meet, report back to Parliament by October, October, in terms of our report. So I've already had a conversation with the chairman of the committee. We will meet, we will sit, we will plan, and I can assure the people of Ghana that we in the minority will ensure that the right thing is done. We will check every item line by line, word for word, and we will make sure that every I is accounted for. Even a penny is accounted for. That is what we need, and that is what we are asking for. We have not asked for much. We want accountability as enshrined in the Constitution.
Mr. Kuma, are you
getting disappointed a little bit?
Why?
Because these figures, this budget that Dr. Atoforsen is holding, has been referred to this same committee already. He has scrutinized the same budget and these figures line by line already.
So
he
now,
didn't find anything
now
wrong.
you are going to
now
get
he says that we should let him do it again, and now he's going to do it line by line. Why didn't you do it line by line when it was
the speaker says
isn't all part of the
the speaker says he wants a comprehensive report which will put this matter to rest.
We are more than happy. Look, any exercises that promote transparency and openness and accountability, we are committed to being part of it. There is nothing to hide. We have nothing to hide as a government. And that's why I'm surprised when Dr. Atuforsen talks like that, because this budget, the figures he's relying on, we gave it to him. And it was referred to his committee, of which is a ranking.
But he's indicated to you why he has a problem. Because there's a difference between
when it was initially referred to him. It's the same figures. It's nothing new.
Something has been
today he praised the finance minister for consistency.
I praised the Minister of Finance for
consistency.
What I was trying to say is that he's lifted things that is in the budget.
Exactly.
To this document.
But exactly so. You praise him for that. You have praised him for consistency. You are here behaving as if he has brought a new thing you haven't seen before.
That what he accounted for is inadequate.
Okay.
It's inadequate.
No
For me, he did not account. He gave us a brief.
Okay.
The minister did not come to Parliament to account.
No, we are happy.
Give us a long brief.
But we are happy.
The only thing missing in the minister's thing is that he failed to add Bible quotations.
So you.
I'm
grateful, gentlemen.
I didn't hear Bible quotations. Knowing my Minister of Finance would have
so he wasn't consistent with that
13.
I'm grateful. Mr. John Kuma is the Deputy Minister of Finance, and Dr. Atuforsen is the ranking member on the Finance Committee. We're supposed to be joined by Vice President, but unfortunately he couldn't join. I'm grateful that you watched us. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of our programs.